It is a pleasure to have a good friend and great colleague joining us today, Tana Ryan. Tana is the managing partner of Weil's still very new Los Angeles office, and Tana is also a partner in our world-renowned private equity practice. Thank you so much for traveling to be here with me today.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Tana, tell me a little bit about your journey as a lawyer. What initially drew you to practicing law, and specifically, what drew you to private equity, where you've had such huge success?
So I'm somebody who, when I went to law school, knew I wanted to do transactional law. Like that part was easy. I was never going to be a litigator. Was not drawn to the...
Me either.
I didn't want to moot court when I was in law school. And so I knew I was going to do transactional. I did not know I was going to do private equity because I didn't know what private equity was.
It was just starting.
Yeah, pretty much when I was there too. It was a new thing. So I knew I was going to come out and do a transactional practice. And it was really just kind of happenstance that I stumbled into private equity. I was one of those kind of like do-good young lawyers who I was going to do a finance transaction. I was going to do a capital markets transaction. I was going to do all these things. And I did my first private equity M&A deal, and I just fell in love. And after that, 20 years later, here I am still doing the same thing.
Well, someone who's worked in PE for most of my career, I agree with all of those points. You've had a wildly successful career at other major law firms, and you joined Weil the summer before last to open the LA office. So you have to know that I'm going to ask this question, which is why Weil and why now?
I was not expecting that question. I bet you haven't asked that a bunch. No, the why Weil part's easy. The Weil brand has always been a premier private equity firm amongst all its other practices and a culture forward firm. Where I was at before, which are two major firms, one was really good at private equity. The other was good at culture. This was a no-brainer to go to the place where the two things I cared about the most were at the same firm. So that's the why Weil. Why now? That's the more interesting question to me. I feel like right now the field of practicing law at a premier law firm is just changing dramatically in a way that, frankly, I had not seen coming in my career and had not experienced yet in my career. And I really feel like what you have to do in a time like this where the very practice of law is changing in dramatic ways is you have to embrace it. And when I first thought about opening the Los Angeles office with Weil, which already speaks to the fact that Weil is like moving forward with embracing change.
We were looking for the right person, and we know we found her.
And it was just an amazing thing that everybody I met, there was two values that really kind of were driving the conversations, and that was growth and innovation. And I think those are two incredibly important aspects of what it's going to take for premier law firms to continue to evolve and embrace this new market that we're in. So it was an easy choice based on that.
So you've already accomplished so much in the last 18 months, and I have no doubt that more success is coming. On that front, you've recently added top litigators to the office, and you've also beefed up the corporate expertise. How do you see the LA office further evolving over the next couple of years?
We're done. We're just going to stop now.
No, not at all. Not at all. We know that's not our plan, and we know for sure that's not your plan.
So it's definitely been a whirlwind start. Our goal, at least my goal that I know you guys have all embraced and been so supportive of, was really about building a practice that had a strong, balanced foundation and yet really spoke to the Los Angeles and the West Coast markets. And that's exactly what we've done. So instead of just kind of grabbing people in, random practice areas or looking for, one-off stars, we really wanted to bring practices together that were collaborative. We started with our PE practice with myself, Alice Yuan, and Francis Dale. We knew immediately that we wanted to get entertainment, sports, media expertise in there, which is just so critical for
the LA market.
The LA market, and frankly, for transactional practices generally, in my opinion. And we brought Tom Ara and David Markman on pretty quickly as well to service that piece. We knew we wanted a litigation practice that spoke to the LA market, but was also complementary to those practices. And so the addition of Adam Fee and Bo Pearl as people who have great complex commercial experience, criminal and other investigations experience, they've been an absolute blessing. And then we also rounded out executive comp and our tax practice with Josh McLean and Jack Stratton. And so I think what I'm most proud of in that first year is that we've built, and we're now, over 20 people in the office in terms of attorneys, 30 overall, but we've built in a balanced way. And so I think the vision from here is really to take that balanced foundation and just continue to grow and build, on those collaborative practices that speak both to the local market and to an ability to work with each other.
Yeah, well, I look forward, and the management committee looks forward to seeing everything come to fruition, as I know it will, under your watch and stewardship. You worked a long time in the LA market, so I'm wondering about your perspectives on what's in the horizon for the market and what our clients in the region should be thinking about as we look towards 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I think it's a really great question because the LA market's particularly unique. There's been a few players that have been there for a long time, and now there's a lot of new faces, new firms coming in, and we're one of those. And I think the way we're differentiating ourselves and standing out in the LA market is, again, very similar to how Weil stands out overall, which is, I think at this point in a competitive legal market, people really want to see folks that actually really care about their clients, are investing in their clients. They're not just bringing somebody in and handing them off. Like, it really is a client service first organization. We are the workers for our clients. We are not too good to.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that has always been inculcated into our thoughts from the moment I started the firm, which is thinking that the client's problems have to become your problems.
Yes.
And quality of practice and quality of service is key and paramount to everything we do, even in these changing times.
Absolutely. It's really one of the cores that we all go back to. And then I think what they're also looking for at this point is business savvy and thoughtfulness about how to address the matters. Like, they really want firms that are like evolving in terms of looking at efficiency. How can we come to the table and add the most value, but do it in a way that is like, not too disruptive to what they're trying to do and not, overblown. And so I think that core value that you started with is, I think, what's going to carry us strongly through a dynamic and developing LA market.
Very, very well put. And as always, you have a commercial perspective on our clients. We've already gotten a real flavor for your personality during this discussion. But as an office head and leader, how would you describe your leadership style, and how does that manifest itself in the LA build-out?
It's a great question, and it's something that I was really focused on when I took this project on, because I knew that in starting an office, I wanted to make sure that we had really kind of checked in with what were the values that were going to be the forefront of what we were doing. And for me, I think there's really three things that are critical for building an office, being a leader, any of the projects you take on as a premier service provider. One is obviously excellence. That's easy.
Right.
Everybody wants to be excellent. No one's ever like, I don't want to be excellent. So excellence is always important. I think besides that, though, authenticity is something that I think is sometimes missed. I think that we are at our best as leaders and as lawyers when we are our true selves. If you're not able to be authentic, you're not really able to provide your best service, and you're not really being true to kind of what makes you you and what allows you to bring value to the table.
Right.
So.
Clients need to know that you're looking at them as people and decisions they have to make and circumstances that they're in. They have bosses, they have things going on in their organization, and being able to understand that and give your advice accordingly, and the way you deliver it is really important.
Incredibly so. And if you are not being your authentic self, then you're not being a good leader, because you're telling other people that they should not be their authentic self. So I think authenticity is just critical to so much of what we do. And then the last one is just accountability. I think leaders need to always be thinking about, how is my team affected by what I'm doing? What can I be doing better for my team? And your team will do the same. I think that you really need that kind of full accountability to each other to kind of work together and grow.
I absolutely love the energy that you bring to everything you do, including this discussion. I'd like to round out today's conversation by asking you something a little bit more open-ended, which is, who is a leader outside of the legal industry that you admire, and why?
It's very early, Barry.
I'll let you have a cup of coffee.
I would say, looking kind of at recent political times, about one leader that I've always admired that comes to mind more often than not is Harvey Milk. I think he was somebody as a politician and a queer politician in San Francisco in a very critical time who was having to do really hard work and have hard conversations, but also had to do it from such a place of incredible compassion. And I do think that going back to what I was talking about, being authentic and also being like so focused on the service you provide to others, I think I really admire that he was able to do what he did in the
that's
short
not
time
easy.
he had.
That's not easy.
No, it was
he did.
incredibly challenging, and what he did in his short time is amazing.
So now I'm going to change. I'm going to change a little bit on you in terms of asking you some quick fire questions.
Okay.
And just whatever comes to mind, just shoot them back at me.
Okay.
How do you like to start each day?
By hitting the snooze button too many times.
What's your favorite snack?
Anything chocolate, sweet.
What's your go-to health and wellness activity?
Pilates.
What's the last movie you watched on a plane?
My email.
That's probably better than some of the movies they show
I'm
on
like,
the
people
planes.
watch movies on planes. Who are these people?
What was your favorite subject in high school?
History. It's the best way not to repeat it is to know it.
Okay. What's your peak time of day?
Definitely like late afternoon. I'm not a morning person, so I kind of, after you get those calls out of the way, I hit my prime.
Name a habit or attribute that drives your friends and loved ones crazy.
Probably cursing too much.
Okay.
But I didn't
Well,
today.
you haven't done it today yet.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. What's the last TV show that you binge watched?
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, because it's the best show on television and everyone should watch it.
Okay. I haven't watched it, so I now will take a look.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay.
Right?
Name an upcoming vacation or trip that you're looking forward to.
I am going to Hawaii for the holidays, and I haven't been in a few years, so I'm very excited. Maui.
What word would an associate on one of your matters use to describe you?
Extra.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you making the trip to come and do this. And as always, I've had a good time doing it.
Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.